Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom is back. Welcome back to another episode of Top Drives. Now I got a really big video for you today. This is just going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a good time. And as you can see at the bottom of the screen, there's a big surprise at the end, and it rhymes with Grossum Boyce. That was the first thing I could think of that rhymes with Blossom Choice. Sure. Anyway, let's talk about the winners and the losers. The meta is changing. These are fun times. I mean, I've already done my rant about things that didn't make any sense with the RQ changes, but hey, we adapt, we overcome, and we succeed. So let's talk about the winners and the losers, and let's talk about some of the best new uncommons that you can use in today's gameplay. Alright, y'all, cameras off. Let's get into it. Signing out is the Mitsubishi Pajero Field Guard. Signing in is the Renault Kangoo Trekka. Now, I want to let you guys know that I'm focusing on just the uncommons today, okay? I'm not really going to talk about the commons. No one gives a shit about that anyway, but we're going to focus on the uncommons today. Obviously, we can't really focus on the rares or anything like that because they haven't gotten their full change yet. So, the Pajero Field Guard, this thing was so dominant as an uncommon, and now that it's gone up to rare, the Kangoo is the one that's going to be signing in. Let's see how dominant the Kangoo is going to be. Very. So literally the entire thing that the Mitsubishi Pajero had a chokehold on that uncommon meta for off-road, basically that's been replaced by the Kangoo now. So the Kangoo, as you can see, is ridiculously good, only losing to the Fiat Strada on the Rallycross small circuit, but the Kangoo wins everywhere else on the dirt, as you can see according to Top Drive's records. Moving on to dirt wet, it's the same story, man. The Kangoo is holding everyone by the neck. Next up, we've got gravel, we've got ice. Once again, the Kangoo just winning everything, but the Nissan Patrol does get the G-Force test in the ice. So that's one thing for you guys to, remember. Nissan Patrol RQ25, still pretty useful. Way back when, like PL13 or PL15 or whatever it was, that Nissan Patrol used to be Blossom Choice, ex-Blossom Choice car. It used to be so good. But now that Kangoo, man, yeah, man, it's a new one. Now moving on to the sand and the snow. As you can see, the Kangoo, again, completely dominant, completely dominant. The Fiat Strada is the best for your ocean beach slalom. So that's actually something to take note of, because especially in clubs, there's this one road less taken where there are 4 ocean beach slalom track sets. So if it's uncommon 5 times and you get that road less taken in clubs, that Fiat Strada is going to be super useful. So that is one thing to take note of. So Kangoo, very freaking useful. Now, the next things I want to talk about signing out are the Aston Martin DB6, DB5, and DB4. They're not going up to a rare, but those Aston Martins have always been my go-to low RQ uncommon dragsters. Okay, here's the thing. When I think about uncommons, when I think about the meta, there are always a couple of cars that come to my mind. If I need an uncommon dragster where RQ isn't a limit, I will go for the Ford Mustang. But if I went for, if I wanted to use, a dragster for the uncommon range where RQ was a limit and I needed to save some RQ, I would go for the Aston Martin DB6. Not even the DB5 or DB4, but I would go for the DB6. They're all the same RQ anyway, and they all still kind of are, besides the DB4 at 24. But the DB6 I would go for. If I needed to use a longer drag, I would go for the Mercedes 300 SL, or even the Dodge D100, or the Chrysler 300. Those are the cars that I would have gone for. There are always a couple of cars that I would always memorize, like, back in the day, best city street medium, say it with me, Nissan Leaf, or is it Leaf? I think it's Leaf. And then best small is the Mitsubishi Galant AMG, So anyway, Aston Martins, they used to be the low RQ dragsters that I would use all the time. Obviously, they've gone up. They've all gone up to 26 now, so they're mid-range. It's honestly flying too close to the sun now. If I had to use a 26, I'll try my best to get a 29 and squeeze in that Mustang. But anyway, a great new low RQ dragster to think about using now is that Chrysler d'Elegance. This thing is really good now. As you can see, for RQ 22 and below, this is filtered by 22 and below, best dragster goes to the quarter mile, half mile, 1 mile, and the 0 to 100. If you can use a little bit more RQ, if you can use RQ 23, then I would suggest looking at a Morgan or even the Maserati Sebring. I don't know which Morgan exactly. It's the turquoise, teal, greenish, or maybe even British Racing Green looking one. It's an RQ23 Morgan. But if you want to use the longer drags, then don't use the Morgan, use the Maserati Sebring instead. But know, when it comes to super low RQ, I'm thinking like 22 and below. That D Elegance is going to be a very useful car now. Also best for the hill climb. Very dominant, I would say. Now we get to the more complex parts, right? When we talked about the Mitsubishi Pajero, you know, the Kangoo that replaced it is just as dominant as the Pajero. But there's no city street medium car that is as dominant as what the Nissan Leaf Nismo used to be. So signing out is the Nissan Leaf Nismo. Signing in, for the most part, is the Alpha 155, but there's more than just the Alpha. So the Alpha signs in on what arguably is the most important track set for the Nissan Leaf as an uncommon, that City Street's medium. So the best City Street medium uncommon now that the Leaf has gone up to rare is the Alfa Romeo 155. It's the best for City Street's medium, so that's one thing to take into account. However, we need to remember that the Nissan Leaf Nismo was more than just City Street's medium. Although that was its strongest suit, it was also a fantastic uncommon for the hairpin, indoor karting, twisty road. So anyway, this is an old screenshot when I was making Blossom Choice for update 18. And this is an old screenshot, just to let you guys know. I think you can see it basically everywhere on the screen telling you that this is, you know, an old screenshot. And this was a comparison between all of the medium ground clearance uncommons during update 18 or PL 18. I'm going to say PL 18. It's old habit die hard. I know some people are annoyed when I say PL. I'm going to say it, live with it. PL 18 uncommons that are medium ground clearance. This was the meta, basically, right? Use your Mitsubishi Galant AMG, use your Nissan Leaf Nismo, and then for select track sets, use the Mazda Atenza Sport Wagon. Obviously, this has changed a lot now, and there are a lot more better options to use now. Well, not a lot more better options, but there are new best options now that the Leaf has gone up to rare. So, when it comes to medium ground clearance uncommons, the best hairpin car, standing hairpin, goes to the Fiat Tipo 2.0. The best karting circuit car goes to the 155. Remember, this is only medium ground clearance. If this was all, you know, uncommons in general, if I could bring in low ground clearance cars, it's still the Mazda NRA. That thing is still ridiculous. The Mazda 155 over here, best twisty road standing. We've got the Alpha 33, which is the best indoor karting. And then we have the best ocean city street car now that goes to the Fiat Tempra. Now, one thing to take into account is that the Fiat Tempra, you want to go 332 to get the most out of Ocean City streets. So it does beat the 323 version. So, starting out as a Nissan Leaf Nismo, there's no one car that can replace it everywhere. The closest one that could replace the Nissan Leaf would be the Alpha, but it's not that dominant or not as dominant. So think about the Tipo, think about the Alpha, think about the Tempra. So yeah, you know, not five, but 4 unique cars. Now, moving on is the Mitsubishi Galant AMG. Now, signing out is the AMG, and signing in is the Honda CRX. Again, the Mitsubishi was predominantly known for being dominant on the city street small, and that's where the Honda CRX kind of excels in. This is your next best thing. So, in the past, for the uncommon meta, city street medium, it was always the Nissan Leaf and the Mitsubishi Galant. Now, it's the Alpha 155 and the Honda CRX. So that's not too hard to memorize, right? I think it's pretty easy. Just remember these two cars over here: Honda CRX, Alpha 155. Until Hutch decides to change the meta again. Now, again, the Mitsubishi Galant was, you know, also the best medium ground clearance uncommon on other track sets. So let's see what it replaces, or let's see what replaces it. The Honda CRX, again, is going to be your main substitute, I guess. Not even a substitute anymore. It's the next, you know, king of the hill. Fast circuit standing, the CRX is the best car. Fast circuit rolling, the CRX is the best car. Again, this is all within the medium ground clearance niche. Okay, I can't state that enough. Canyon Tour Dry goes to the Dakota because, you know, I know it's a very random track set, but the Galant used to be the best Canyon Tour Dry uncommon that was medium ground clearance, so I'm just putting in the Dakota. It's basically replacing it now on that track set. Fiat Tempra, again, coming in for Ocean Highway, and of course with the twisty circuit, we see the Alpha 155 again. So this 155 is pretty dominant, I would say. Not Nissan Leaf dominant, but it's still pretty damn good. So basically, you know, if you want a Spark Note version of what I just said, get duplicates and use your tokens on these, right? So if you haven't used all of your tokens yet, I've not used all of my tokens yet. I can still fully upgrade 20 uncommons if I wanted to. But if you still have tokens that you want to use, I would suggest highly suggest saving up for these cars. If you don't have them in your garage yet and you have the tokens, just leave the tokens there. Wait for the day that you unpack one of these cars and then fully upgrade them. You know, one day I have a feeling that this Honda CRX might go low ground clearance. I just have a feeling. I don't know. I might need to find a real life photo of this car. I just feel like it's low. It might actually be medium. But if that car gets nerfed, we're gonna have to change everything again. Maybe the Dodge Dakota will be the next, the next best thing, right? So, basically, collect these cars, get them in duplicates. Now, moving on, let's talk about this guy. My Mazda AutoZam AZ1. This thing was so incredibly dominant for the wet niche, right? It was so good. Again, this is an old photo that came from Update 18, PL18. Look at how dominant this thing was. It was the best for car park, G-force, karting circuit, slalom, twisty circuit rolling, twisty road, Monaco G-force, mountain hairpin, twisty road. So a lot of cars are going to be replacing the AutoZam. The Hyundai Nexo also used to be the best for Monaco hairpin. I don't think it is anymore, actually. So let's get into it. This is the standard niche. Just standard niche. This counts rear wheel drive, front wheel drive, medium ground clearance, low ground clearance, everything, just standard tires. The standard niche for Update 24. As you can see, the best car for a lot of the tracks is a shared. It's a three-way tie, honestly, between the Mazda RX-7, the Renault Wind, and the Dodge Grand Caravan. There are some other outliers, like the best slalom being the Subaru Brat, and the best twisty circuit rolling going to the Nissan Pulsar. These were cars that weren't even in this, initial, initial comparison. So I had to take, separate screenshots for them. But the Brat for the slalom, Pulsar for the twisty circuit. So those are things for us to remember as well. So basically, what the AutoZam leaves behind are 5 new winners. We've got the Dodge Caravan RT, we've got the Mazda RX-7, the Subaru Brat, the Pulsar, and the Renault Wind. This is honestly a massive change for me because I used to just have 5 fully upgraded AutoZams and it did the job for me, right? When all the AutoZams went up, I was actually, I still am in a little bit of a pickle because I don't own a Mazda RX-7 after all these years, after 7 years, over 7 years of playing top drives. I don't own a single Mazda RX-7, so I have this wish listed now. I'm looking forward to getting one, and I'll be, maxing it out when I can. The Brat's pretty useful now. The Renault Wind as well, one that I don't have many of. I think I only have one. Again, as you can see, it's the best for hairpin and karting within this comparison, but it is a strong car to use, especially for an RQ27. And the Caravan, the Caravan's really good. Even with that nerf that it got with this update, it's still a really good car, and I have a couple of those fully upgraded already. So these are cars that you can definitely think about keeping around. One other one I want to think about is, again, the low ground clearance drag for standard tires only. So you know how we talked about the Aston Martin earlier and how the Aston Martins were getting replaced with the Chrysler D-Elegance? It's the same thing for the Chrysler 300h and the Dodge D100. Now the D100 is still a really good car. I think this going up to RQ27 is completely warranted, and I get that. But the Chrysler 300h, it's going to suffer a lot more. The main reason why I would use this car was because you could use so much RQ. You could save so much RQ. It was so much of a bargain. It was like RQ22, right? Back in the day, so cheap. Or 23, something like that. Now at a 27, again, flying too close to the sun here. I'd rather just use a Dodge or even just a Mustang. If I had to use standard tires, Dodge D100 is the first one that comes to my mind, obviously. But if you want to save RQ and you have to use a standard tire car in the drag, I would go for the Chrysler D-Elegance. Again, here it is for the lower RQ stuff. For the shorter drags, I would go for the Chrysler. For the longer drags, I would go for the Mercedes 300 SL, which did get an RQ buff. It used to be RQ20, now it's RQ24. A bit too high for the 300 SL. I know it's good on the 1 mile and test bowl, a little bit of a specialist there, but still a little bit too good, right? A little bit too good. It's only useful when you can use standard tires only, or if you can use Mercedes-Benz only, or maybe German cars, because German cars, they're not a lot of good dragsters when it comes to German uncommon and just lower RQ, lower rarity stuff. But yeah, I would say D-Elegance is a pretty useful car if you want to save some RQ for the drags now, because it's shining for the wet and it's shining for the dry. Anyway, here's your new blood, all right? The new class of, Update 24, with the, I guess the execution, for lack of a better word, or a lack of a less dramatic word, with the execution of cars like the Pajero, the AutoZam, the Nissans, the Mitsubishi Galant, right? it opens the way for a lot more new meta cars. The funny thing is, none of these cars are actually from the brand new update, besides like the Kangoo. I think the Kangoo is like the only one. Everything else are just cars that have been in the game for quite some time already. But yeah, the Caravan, Mazda RX-7, Subaru Brat, Renault Win, Nissan Pulsar, all of these cars are going to be cars that you want to look out for, cars that you want to fully upgrade, cars that you want to keep and maybe keep in duplicate if you play a lot of clubs. Now here's a little surprise for you, because this is a quick little mock-up of Blossom Choice. I basically added, the 3 cars that are still incredibly dominant that Hutch didn't change with this update. You got the Mazda Roadster NRA, which is, the entirety of the low ground clearance performance tire twisty meta for uncommons. We got the Ford Mustang Boss 351, which is basically like the best quarter mile, half mile, hill climb, ocean short drag kind of car. And then we got the Mistral, which is the best, not 1 mile. I actually don't know. Ooh, you know what? That's an interesting one. I actually don't know what is the best 1 mile uncommon now, but that's why this is a draft. This is why that's why this is a draft for Blossom Choice Uncommons, because Blossom Choice Uncommons usually adds, I believe, 25 cars per rarity. This is only 16, so there are 9 more cars I can still add to this list. But the Mistral definitely is one of the best ones for the 1 mile, I would say, and definitely the best for the test bowl. So yeah, anyway guys, that's gonna be it for today. Let me know in the comments below, how many of these cars do you have? Let me tell you how many I own. I got the Caravan, I don't have the RX-7, I got the Brat, I've got the Mistral. I feel like I don't have the Wind. I had 2 of them fully upgraded for summer games a long time ago, but I fused it away because, at the time it was useless and I don't like this car. I have the Pulsar, I have the Elegance, I have the Boss. I don't think I have the Tipo. I have the 155, I don't have the Tempra. I mean, I have one Tempra, but not drag spec. I have it 323. Got the Roadster, I've got the Dakota, CRX, Alpha. I do not own the Kangoo, which is really annoying. I actually do not own the Kangoo because I didn't need to own the Kangoo. Things like the RX-7 and the Kangoo, I just didn't need to own back in the old updates because I had 5 Pajero Field Guards and 5 AutoZams. But now things are changing up. But anyway guys, that's gonna be it for today. I hope you found this video super useful. I'll be doing something like this for all the rarities when they get their changes, in the future as well. And then obviously we're all gonna build up, like an Avengers level accumulation for Blossom Choice. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. I'm gonna stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all